Ladies and gentlemen, who tells you?
Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hero News. How are you all? Yes, we are here. We are live. Chewy is joining us. It's a fantastic tradition that we have first night back for a bit of a chat. I think Chewy's jumped in and out twice and his computer's playing out, and I'm sure any second now we'll hear bloop, which is Chewy joining us and Chewy joining in. How is everybody? How are you all? Are you all doing well? Have you had a good weekend? So glad and so happy to be back with so many of you. Kiwi Bird's already got on there super early with a super chat, so let's just throw it out there. Destiny Church is a gang. Don't change my mind. Lots of conversations around Destiny Church today. We have a couple of very special guests about to join us in just a second. Jools Topp, one of the Topp Twins, Dame Jools, perhaps we should be official. And of course, Sunita Torrence, who is a friend of the show, part of Rainbow Storytime. Coco Flask is going to be joining us as well to have a talk about what's been going on with Destiny Church over the weekend. Before we do that, I want to just let you all know that the merch store is up and running again. We have done a full stock take over the weekend. We have gotten all of our gears good to go when it comes to t-shirts, and they're all there and they're all back again. The Chewy Fufu, the Chewy Fufu, the Nikki No Boats, the BHN and the Tino Rangatira Buffer are all back in t-shirt form. Before Wednesday, they will all be back in hoodie form. And if you'd like to, if you've been sitting there waiting, I know there's lots of people who are waiting for the Buffer gear to come back. It is there now. You can get it in t-shirt form. You watch this. 3, 2, 1, magic trick. If you clap, kids, like a fairy, he'll just turn up. Clapping. 3, 2, 1, clapping. Hey! Good evening, sir.
My mic stand broke.
Right.
My headphones wouldn't connect.
Right.
Just look, it's.
We don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time to catch up tonight, Chew Master General. We will do that perhaps after our first conversation, because we've got some very special guests about to join us. Unfortunately, talking about a really crap kind of news story that's been going on over the weekend. I was just letting people know the merch store is up and running, bhnshop.nz. Hoodies are coming, and we've made the decision that any t-shirt or hoodie merch bought in February will also get the equivalent sticker thrown in with it. So if you buy a Chewy Fufu, we'll throw a Chewy Fufu sticker in there. If you buy a Buffer, we'll throw a Buffer sticker in there as well, just to say thanks for being a part of it and thanks for being patient while we got the printer sorted out. And Chewy, I was just telling them hoodies and stuff will be back before Wednesday. So shop's open, the shop's going, bhnshop.nz. For those of you who live in the far north, a hoodie is something people in the south wear during summer to stay warm. Just in case you're not sure of that term, hoodie. That's what the people down south wear during the summer. A t-shirt is what you guys wear in the far north, 24/7, 365. Is that clear, Chewy, do you think? We're clear?
Yeah, a hoodie, it's often paired with shorts and jandals when it's snowing.
No, shorts and jandals in the summer, shorts and jandals with socks in the winter. That's the difference.
Soft.
That's the difference.
Soft.
All right, let's get into this first story, shall we? This is going to take a bit of a while to get through the whole thing, because we're going to talk about this. And obviously for some of you who know that I love that kind of religious talk, there's an element of that which we'll get to as well. But the first thing we're going to do about the behaviour and actions of Destiny Church over the weekend is welcome to the show an absolute Kiwi icon, Dame Jools Topp. Jools, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
My pleasure.
Very excited to have you here so much. And we're going to bring Sunita in at the same time. Sunita Torrence, aka Coco Flask, friend of the show, wearing some spectacular Buffer merch there. Well done. Good to see you again. Okay, so with four of us on, what we're going to do is be quite directive here. And the first thing we're going to do is bring up the Topp Twins Facebook page. Topp Twins Facebook page, everyone can see it. After the events happened in central Auckland, Jools, the Topp Twins put out a statement. We will not be intimidated. We will not stand for violence. We are vibrant, strong, beautiful and loving. We will not go away. We'd just love for you to speak to that, to tell us why you needed to post that and any other thoughts you've got around it.
We'd just love for you to speak to that.
Because when the time comes, everybody has to stand up. And
Yep.
that's what you don't shirk away when those things happen. We call it the Pride Ponsonby incident, just because we don't want to mention names. We're ghosting the protesters. And when at the end we say we're not going away. Does anyone remember Diamond Lil? Anybody remember Diamond Lil? She was the most amazing drag queen. She performed years and years and years ago, and she was produced and managed and endorsed by Phil Warren, who was the Auckland City Councillor years ago.
Okay.
And we grew up with all those things as part of our entertainment and the world of entertainment. And people flocked to see Diamond Lil because she was a drag queen. There was some respect for people's artistry, their ability to create a character. And so we were part of that in those early days. Busking on the street, there was so much vibrancy going on, and people weren't afraid of gay people. And I think what's happened now is there's this kind of fear of the unknown that's happening in the world that we need to correct, and we need to stand up and say, look, religion has gone a long way to identifying the witches and burnt them on the stake, and it ain't going to happen again. I can tell you that right now. So we need to say to the people that we're talking to and saying, there's a big difference between freedom of speech and hate speech, a big difference. And so people need to be able to feel comfortable in their sexuality. And we've always, endorsed that. And suddenly, are the protesters going to storm the stage when we come out as Ken and Ken? I mean, what is going on in the world where we can't enjoy each other's company? The gay community has never, ever, ever hurt anyone. Yeah. They've never hurt anyone by being themselves. The parade has never hurt anybody. It's full of love and excitement and vibrancy. And we just need to stand up. And because we have a dame in the front of our name, and we're, as you say, New Zealand icons, we're the ones that need to stand up and say, we're with you 100%. The gay community needs to know that the old troop is standing by them right now in 2025. And did we ever think we were going to have to go through this again? No. In the 80s, we thought everything was cool and groovy. And when it comes time, we're in strange times. The world is really struggling now to be nice to each other. And we just needed to stand up and say, we are here 100% behind our gay community. It doesn't matter whether you're gay, transgender, transitioning. Sometimes the drag queen and the drag king is the safest place for some of those people to be. It's how they start feeling like their sexuality means something to them. And there's no malice in it at all. And if you see what's happening, if you look at the church and the drama that we've had about child abuse, it's kind of a bit rich that they're standing up and telling us that we are, sexually deviant of any sort whatsoever. We're loving human beings, need to be respected wherever we are and feel safe out on the streets.
Yeah, it's a strange thing as well, obviously, that we all well know of the highly publicised news story recently that a sexual predator came out of Destiny Church. But like you say, if you were to
Well, that's
line
right.
up
I mean,
people
you know,
who have been
it's rich,
who have
isn't
been
it?
found
It's mighty
guilty of
rich,
these
you know.
crimes. Sorry, Jules, you go.
Say no more. Say no more. It's just a really weird situation, and it's what happens is it's when there's a cult, things go wrong.
Yeah. Now, speaking of cult, and you've kind of talked about the incident, Brian Tamaki has this position at the top of this church/cult. When you see this, just when you see, I don't. There is sound to it, but I'll leave it down. When you see this footage, what does it make you think and feel?
Well, I'm kind of appalled that that they think they can use the haka against us, because I know for many years we've worked really hard. We went to Waitangi every year, and the people there, they welcomed us with open arms. We slept on the marae. We were part of that whole thing, and it was we never felt like we were hated or disrespected by any of the Maori people that were at that far north. All the Waitangi celebrations when we were still fighting, you know, the good fight way back then. So I sometimes I worry about that, and I know that I stand strong with our Maori brothers and sisters. The hikoi was amazing and totally non-violent, I might add, totally non-violent, but really culturally beautiful and amazing, and made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And Linda and me, we're both quite unwell still with our cancer. So we couldn't be on the hikoi, but if we had had a chance, we would have been there 100%. And so I think I was mad with Luxon, because he said they went too far, but he didn't condemn them. There's a difference between saying, "Oh, you went a little bit too far," but he could have said, "You went a bit too far, but I was glad you were there." He might as well have said that. He did not condemn what was happening.
Weak.
And I just think we need to, as I said before, now is the time to stand up. Don't wait. If you need to say something, you need to say it now, and you need to be part of this group that is saying we need to change something. And if we need to, we've found different ways of making things change now. Maybe us old girls don't want to go out and bang our heads against the cops anymore. We've done that. We've been on the Springboks tour and put our helmets on so we didn't the head with a bat. We've been there before, and maybe what we need to do now is ministers. We need to talk pretty big time to the police commissioner that says you need to make sure that gay people are safe on the street, and if they're wearing a patch, maybe they need to be in that list, because they might be the most dangerous gang in New Zealand.
It's interesting you talk about like the old ones. We've talked a bit about the hikoi, and I don't know if you saw, Jules, but I put your post up off your Facebook page that supported it as well. But in the 70s, there was Dame Whina Cooper on the Land March. In the early 2000s, there was Hone Harawira and his lot on the various hikois. And now there's Eru Kapakingi and those guys doing it. And the Māori have seen that transition of parent. And what happens is when Dame Whina Cooper turns into 4 people in 2000, which turns into 20 people in 2024, and it's just growing, and those activists are growing and becoming more numerous. You ask, are you seeing that as clearly in the LGBT community as well?
I think what's happening in the LGBT community is that we've become more diverse. And as far as we're concerned, diversity, that's a beautiful word. You know, there are other people in the world that don't like that word. And we have strength in our diversity. And there's been all sorts of weird things going on in the world about, we talk about sport and women in sport and the level playing field and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, what's happening is the gay community is the one place I know where your sexuality does not get questioned. It's just a safe place to be. We need it always to be a safe place to be, because otherwise where do the people go who have this, they have a drama that they have to deal with. It's not easy to identify as something that you're not or born as. So there has to be a group of people that are ready to embrace that and say, we're with you. We want to support you 100%. And I'm Linda and me have always been part of that. Support, and do not judge. And as far as our music went. We had to have this saying years and years ago. It was amuse, but never abuse. And when you go to see a drag show, it's never about abuse. You know, it's about how funny it is and how beautiful it is and how loving it is. And everyone gets dressed up. It's all a big chance for this whole idea. When we go to the drag queen shows and the drag king shows, they're really a great big celebration. It's not to hurt anybody or to be political in the sense that it's trying to change someone else. We've never tried to change anybody, but a lot of people in the world who disrespect the gay community have tried to change us time and time again. They've tried to change gay men. When the homosexual law was happening, all the lesbians thought we've got to stand up because we're the next ones that are going to make it illegal. So the lesbians really stood up and fought really strong and hard for the gay boys. And the thing about that is, I don't know how many gay boys have been subjected to a conversion therapy to say, you are not gay, we're going to turn you straight again. But let me tell you something else in the same breath. You cannot make someone gay either. You know, if they think the gay community is going to make someone gay, they are really sadly mistaken. You have it in your body to know that you're gay. It's in your heart to think, I think I'm gay. And it's something that's really personal and really needs to be respected. And, you know, I know I've been to some of the, you know, places where the gay boys are all dressed up in their drag gear and they look amazing, right? And they're, you know, there's a fairy. They're dressed as a fairy with wings and a wand and they've got their high heel shoes on, right? And I know kids who are scared of Santa and clowns. But I've never seen a kid afraid of a drag queen dressed up as a fairy. So let's put this all in perspective. Come on, people. It's not really about us being deviants. No way is it. It's about a group of people who see us as something that is wrong and we're not adhering to their Christian beliefs. And we are more Christian than them when it comes to not judging people. Because the whole idea is that acceptance and diversity is what makes the world go round. And the more we look at that and feel each other's strength in that way, then we will sort things out in a much better and decent way without any violence whatsoever.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Jools. Chewy, have you got? I'm going to bring Sunita. Sunita had a bit of a problem with her headphones. I'm going to bring Sunita back in a second. But Chewy, do you want to have anything you want to aim at Jools or ask Jools?
Well, first of all, Jools, on behalf of my mother and cousin, you're an absolute superstar. They love you and the Topp Twins to absolute bits and have done for years. So I'm very.
When we're out on the street, matey, we have young boys come up to us, you know, and they've got their, you know, baggy jeans on, and they're all pretty cool and groovy, and they put their arms around us and call us Ken and stuff. And then they say, "Can I get a picture? My mum loves you."
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, really, we've had an amazing career. So give a big shout out to your mum for me and say hi.
Will do. I just think your comments about people rallying around the community and standing up are 100%. Just like the Liberians did, they stood up against this violent mob trying to shut down a kid's story time. People in the communities need to stand together, and we stand with them.
Yeah.
I'll bring
I think.
Sorry, Jools, you go. There's a bit of a delay.
I think the majority of New Zealand is with us. I feel really strongly about that.
I think you're right. And what I was going to say, Jools, is you're talking about the younger ones coming up after you. I mean, Sunita, Jools is probably on some level talking about you. You know, you run Rainbow Storytime, you support the drag community, you're a part of it. I was wondering, Sunita, do you have anything you want to say to Jools, who's been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, and you're sort of on this journey now?
Like, legendary. You're up there with Dame Edna, my darling. It's amazing what you've done, the gender bending that you've done since the beginning of time. and it's purely and strictly Aotearoa-fied as well. Like, you have made the Kiwi bloke out of yourself, and everyone's laughed with you and at you, and that's what drag is. It's not harmful in any way. You're just creating an entertainment experience, and kudos to you guys for doing what you've done.
Yeah, and right back at you as an artist, I need to say to you, you need to stay strong, because when we get a chance to entertain, and when you talk about the stories at the library, this is a beautiful thing. This is an amazing thing. And what happens is that the more you make something non-accessible, the more fear it creates. So fear is, when it comes to the gay community, we've always felt that the biggest thing is fear of the unknown.
Mm.
And the more that people see us, they realize that we're just like them. If we get cut, we bleed. So we're just human beings that are trying to live our life and not force anything else upon anyone else, but just to say, let me live my life the way I want to. Let me love the person I want to. Then what happens is we can start having a dialogue that creates some sort of respect about our differences, but we don't fear each other. So I just think that when we read kids' stories, I mean, the government is telling us we've got a terrible reading population of young kids coming through, and then they tell us in the same breath that we can't read to the kids because you're in platform shoes and you're wearing wings and a fairy dress. It's just so ridiculous. And like they said, it wasn't out on the street. People had to actually make the effort to get their kids in the car and go to the library. If they think it's R18, they're sadly mistaken, because when someone reads a kid a story, it's reading a story to a little kid. It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing to do. We've done the only time we've ever really been mobbed was at a play centre, because we put all our books out for the Scholastic books. We write, we're singing, should be coming around the mountain and all that sort of stuff. And the kids have all learnt that song at the play centre, and they all come and grab, we're walking in with our guitars, and they're all grabbing around our legs, and we've got to sit down on the mat with them and sing the song, and
I think I was one of those kids.
Really special, because all those kids, all they want to do is sing the song. They don't care what sexuality it is.
No,
they're just
they
there,
don't.
and
they're
really
the
honest.
moment.
Yeah. A beautiful moment. So you can't not keep doing this, and I hope the rest of the lesbian community, the gay community, transgender, transsexual, gay, whatever, drag queen, drag king, as many alphabetical words you can get in there. I hope we all look after each other, and I hope we back you to keep going, and then there will be a time when this will pass, and we will realize that if we talk to each other, we keep our strength, and we don't take no shit.
What a beautiful place to wrap up, Jools. Hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is such an honour to talk to you. I mean, it's been a blast, and I'm sure telling Sunita that you are backing them to keep going is the kind of thing that Sunita loves to hear as well. So.
I'm
and everyone listening in
tonight.
Well, I hope everyone listening in is really, feeling strong. And we don't want to end up in America and in a situation in America where gay people are definitely feeling unsafe. They're fearful that they're in a hostile situation. And even though they talk about diversity, that includes us. The gay people are included in that. And I think when we start to, see who's being persecuted, once again, it's the gays and the immigrants. Then what happens is when you pit other people against other people in the community, that's when you start for the community to break down. Yeah. And so we just said we have to do something immediately, because we need to stop this. We need to nip this in the bud. And I'm sure that everybody will be a little bit on edge. And, you know, I was waiting with bated breath to see if anything was going to happen at the big gay out. And someone said there was more police presence at the bus stops, so people weren't going to be harassed getting on the buses and all that sort of stuff. And it was really good to hear that. But I think we need to talk to the powers that be to say, you guys need to be on our side. You need to look after us, because we don't want to fight. We do not want to fight.
Just want to be fabulous.
Dame Jools, thank you for joining us. It is a genuine honour to speak to you.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks for your words.
later.
And I'm sure Sunita and others will continue the fight. All right. Thanks, Jools. All the best.
Oh
You
my
right there,
gosh.
Sunita?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, the wrong time of the month for this.
Can I just say one thing? Because Jools brought it up. Here's the one thing. Jools said that, you know, Mum threw the kids in the car and they went along to the library.
Yeah.
Groups like Destiny Church are the ones who are constantly saying parental rights, parental rights, parental rights. And now they're saying, oh, not those parental rights. A parent or parents have decided to take their kids along to a library. They've made a parental decision. They have the right to do it as parental rights. And Destiny's still coming in going, nope, 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 not right. So just don't believe any of that morality bullshit that these kinds of places come out with, talking about, you know, they're standing up for the family. You weren't standing up for the families who wanted their kids to be there. You're standing up for the families that are not like you. And it's interesting that the Māori Pacific, or Māori in particular, community is so strongly kind of identified within Destiny Church, because it's been a long time in New Zealand in the Māori community that Māori have been a sufferer of, oh, you're not like us, and have been at the bottom of the list. And now I'm not saying Māori, Destiny Church and many within Destiny Church who are Māori are doing that to another community. They've come from a vulnerable space. They may still be in a vulnerable space, and they're now bullying a vulnerable space. It's the worst kind of, it's not quite self-loathing, but you know what I mean? It's just awful.
It really is. And the fact that they're now recruiting and grooming young people, rangatahi, with this new radical youth movement. So they were at the forefront of all that happened in Auckland over the weekend, and that sickens me. That really sickens me. They're going on about us grooming children, and they're the ones doing it.
Yeah, and as we said before, you know, I stopped the conversation because there was a bit of a delay between us and Jools. But the point I was going to make was, if you lined up 100 convicted paedophiles, how many drag queens are going to be there versus how many Catholic priests, Christian missionaries, you know, Christian school teachers? It's like, just fuck off. I mean, honestly, just fuck off. You know, actually, here's a Christian virtue for you. Go and sort your own house out first before you worry about mine. Off you go, son. You know what I'm saying?
And
look,
it's well known that people who assault and abuse children are known to them. If you're turning up to a drag show, you don't know us anyway. So that's taking us out of the equation in the first place. We're all being police vetted. I've myself have done a children's safety course and everything like that to be able to work with children. And you know, we're never alone as well. We don't put ourselves in those positions of being able to be accused of things.
I'll tell you something else. And I won't mention who it was, but in the first 10 years of this decade, an incredibly influential, high profile Christian communicator that I knew, like if you're in that world, 2000, you know who the name that it was, said to me, one of the worst things about the church is that parents will just flick their kids off to anybody in the church because they want to go and do their own thing. And guess what happens? That's a really high rate of kids getting violated and abused. Because guess who joins the church to get access to the kids? These kinds of people. And then parents, because they're all supposed to be good, loving Christian people, we can trust anyone. No checks, no police checks, no nothing. They just go, yep, you can have my kids, you're a part of the church. And then what can happen? Not to everybody, I'm not casting aspersions over every youth worker in the world, but the stats are surprising. I'm glad it's your dog this time, Sunita.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's Freddie Mercury.
Right. Of course it is.
But no, absolutely. And the other thing with churches, because I grew up in the church all my life, we're all fixers. We want to fix those people who have strayed away and aren't doing so good in the community. So that's why we welcome them into the church. we love to fix people. So that's why it becomes a vulnerable space for, the bad people to get in there.
Hey, let's do this. We kind of brought both you and Jools on at the same time to talk about the same thing, but she's kind of really talked about the blocking of the Pride Parade. Why don't we talk with you now? Maybe we'll start with a story from tonight's news about the library events, because that's more sort of in your warehouse to do with, our drag queen story time, yeah? So let's have a look at the story from tonight, because the story has continued to evolve.
Horrified, shocked and scared. A teenager caught inside Auckland's Te Ata 2 library has spoken out about what she witnessed over the weekend when it was stormed by Destiny Church members.
If you haven't seen this, I'm gonna spoil it. There is a teenage girl now, because of the actions of Destiny, who has a concussion. So this is not peaceful, right? This is not peaceful.
Protesting against a Pride event there. As police continue to investigate allegations of assault, calls are growing for the church to lose its charitable status. Isabel Prasad reports.
They came inside and they were trying to get up the stairs, and the library staff were just trying to calm them down and to tell them they can't come upstairs. And then
It wasn't in this footage, but I know I was looking at some footage over the weekend, and one of the gentlemen at the front of this group, I'm not going to say which one it was in case I get it wrong, because these guys are litigious in the worst sense of it. But without question, there's an elbow, like a elbow push like this on, I think maybe this gentleman here. So it's a clear-cut assault. So if they want to do it, they can. It's on film. I've seen it.
And they were trying to get up the stairs, and the library staff were just trying to calm them down and to tell them they can't come upstairs. And then they got racked up and started trying to hit people.
Evie and her friends caught up in Saturday's protest.
I was shocked. I didn't know what they were doing and why they were doing it.
The teenager was attending a dodgeball tournament.
I was questioning that, guys. A dodgeball tournament. So this is not just about a library. She was attending a dodgeball tournament and got caught up in it. So I'm assuming that this is a complex of which the library is a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was at a dodgeball event.
I think it's like a full
Destiny
community
Church
thing.
Yeah.
Members swarmed Te Ata 2 library, attempting to shut down a rainbow story time for young children.
She saw a young lady who she'd been playing with and who she knew quite well get shoved and pushed and punched. She was just horrified, I think, that anybody would come and do that to people. It was a good, fun family event, something that she was really enjoying.
The chaos and disarray of Saturday's incident, today replaced with a sense of calm, as staff and local residents reclaimed the space with a blessing.
The karakia was called by the kaimahi of the library. They put their bodies on the line to keep that event safe, to keep people safe. And it was important for us as a community in West Auckland to gather around them.
But the weekend's events still roar.
Children terrified by the screaming and shouting and shoving and punching. One 16-year-old girl now is being treated for concussion. That shouldn't be happening, especially not in the name of religion.
It's my community, it's both my communities, the Rainbow community plus the Te Ata 2 community. It just hurts.
Police are continuing to investigate allegations of assault.
Well, I'd like to see the police upholding the law. Take the kid gloves off, treat everybody equally, and Destiny Church, if they break the law, they should be punished.
Calls are also mounting for Destiny Church to be stripped of its charitable status. This petition from a...
Yeah, that's interesting, eh? We'll get to the end of the story before we chat about it, but Family First lost their charitable status, and I believe one of the conditions was, too much political lobby work sort of thing, and how these guys can still have it is well beyond me. We'll just give this another 30 seconds.
A year ago, receiving thousands of signatures in the past 48 hours.
Well, I think there's a broader question at play, which, we've said that we would look at in due course around the registering, charities.
For the Te Ata 2 community, standing together in unity is paramount.
It's all about, to me, community safety, our people being free to love and live in the places they grow up in.
With plans to hold more Pride events over the coming month. Isabel Prasad, One News.
All right. Sunita, the drag king that was involved in the event, doing a science exercise. Apparently they thought it was an R18 science exercise, whatever the fuck that is. Do you want to, obviously I assume you've been in contact, been in touch. Do you want to let us know what's going on, what's happened, how things are on that end of things?
So this drag queen is probably the most talented person I know have ever known. I've worked with them. They've done work with my company as well, and they are the most professional person I know. They've written so many books, songs, shows for children, and absolutely amazing. So because they're so professional, they don't want to really have too much going on about it in their own realm, and that's something that I go straight in there. This person doesn't, but it's just protect the safety. And you've got people from the rainbow community that are being identified in the videos and things like that too, that don't necessarily want that trauma. And so but the drag person involved and the pride community, they are understandably reeling from the whole situation, but business as usual. Let's carry on. Let's keep going with Pride Month. It's Auckland Pride at the moment. Then you've got Christchurch, you've got Wellington, heaps of them coming up. Just got to keep going forward with it.
The name of the Facebook page that you told me about, Aotearoa Truth, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Aotearoa Truth. So if people want to see more footage and stuff, there's a ton of stuff on here. Including, footage from non-edited, non-Destiny church member footage, as well as some uncut stuff in there as well. There's heaps in there. Go check it out for yourself if you want to have a look at what it's all about. But it looks pretty ugly.
Yeah,
Sure, you got any thoughts, brother?
I've got so many thoughts about this.
Oh, really? That's not like you.
Yeah, it's shocking, right?
Shocking.
I think this is an absolutely calculated attack during Pride. There have been story times like this going around for a while, but this is specifically targeted at Pride. Maximum effect. Like they knew what they wanted to do. They have achieved that. They've shut down other story time events because, of course, councils and libraries need to manage the risk. And that is exactly what Destiny wants. They've got it.
I feel like what they did to us this time last year, and in Gisborne and Hastings and Rotorua, was kind of like dipping their toes in the water. Now they've been emboldened by that because nothing happened from that. And here they are. They're just escalating, and they're finding other ways of being able to recruit more people, and they're taking these impressionable youth to do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Pat, you mentioned losing your charitable status. Another group that lost its charity status was Greenpeace, of all groups, and they lost their charitable status because they were too political. So I think for Luxon to be weak as is his fashion, both by saying, "Oh, I think Destiny went too far," is such a weak comment. And I have to turn to Mia Brown and go look at his statement and go, that's the statement. That's what our Prime Minister should have been saying, and sort of hiding behind the whole, "Oh, we're reviewing the whole thing." No, this is very much a targeted thing right now. There have been questions about Destiny for decades. There have been questions specifically about they're wearing a patch and parading as a gang, but not being included in that list of gangs because they're a church. Are they? Are they a church? Do they get charitable status because of all the charity that they do?
The funny thing is, all of that charity goes to their own groups. They've got all of these subgroups to them: Man Up, Legacy, Boys to Men, Radical Youth Movement. That charity is going just towards it's staying in the house. It's staying within their own scope.
It's a good system.
It's a really good system. Like, great business.
There's a couple of things, right? The first is, I thought this afternoon, the only problem that I see with them losing their charitable status is the only people that will impact is the members, because it means the members won't be able to get half of their refunds back. But then I thought about it, and I thought probably Destiny Church probably expects those refunds to come back anyway. So they probably, the parishioners probably give, the parishioners get a refund back, and then they probably expect it to give that refund anyway. So there's about that. And this is the thing, and you know me, Chewy, and actually, Sunita, you probably know enough about me to know this, but I dig on the teachings of this dude, Jesus. I mean, if you just look at his pure teachings, love your enemies, look after the widows and orphans, there's not too much that you can go against. The story, whether you believe it to be factual, accurate or not, is he pushed back against power. He pushed back against characters like rabbis and Pharisees and the state. He punched up. He didn't punch down. He hung out with the people of the day that were the most vulnerable. He lived with them and he ate with them, so the story goes. He actually pointed his finger at the church, not at whatever the version of a drag queen is in 2,000 years ago in that story. So what I'm saying is Destiny Church, and in particular Brian Tamaki, is the example of the kinds of people in that story that Jesus would have gone no to.
Yeah.
He's not the representative, right? He's not. He's the one that would get pointed at and go, this is not how to do it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. It's just, it's really baffling me, the whole thing. It saddens me because it's making people think that that's what religion is and that's what Christianity is and that's what the church is, but it's not. Let's get that straight. This is the Church of Brian Tamaki, not the Church of Jesus or Christianity or anything like that. He's all about just being against anything that's popular. He needs to go against so he can stay in the media. I'd love to have a period of absolute silence where he is completely ignored. I don't know how that will ever work, but it would be amazing to see what happens to the poor guy.
Hey,
I think there's one other thing I point out here that Destiny's doing, and I think it's a classic thing with some churches and definitely cults, is that you want to show the people in your congregation, in your church, that you are all together and you are the guys that have the correct belief and everybody else is against you. It reinforces that feedback loop of no, your family, you're with us, your friends, and it really can radicalize people to do some absolutely out the gate stuff. So you're in this position where whatever you push back against Destiny, it'll reinforce their message. If you don't push back against Destiny, they feel emboldened. It is a lose-lose situation. So you can't think about Destiny. You have to think about their targets. Am I being visible to this community that I say that the Destiny stuff is unacceptable? I say to the people that Destiny are going after, you are safe with me. And I think that's the whole idea behind Pride, right?
Yeah.
Is to show that you don't have to hide, that you can be yourself, and that is fine. And that is the message that we need to focus on when Destiny is banging their drum like they are now.
Yeah. And just the blatant lies. They literally fabricate and make up stuff and tell it like it's truth. And that gets spread around and around and around. And it's absolutely ludicrous that people get sucked into that. But that's what brainwashing is. That's what finding someone who's charismatic and, he swears in his sermons. That's why I joined his church. Me and my mum joined his church because we were like, oh, look at this brown fella that says shit in his sermons. That's pretty cool. I'm relating. And that's how he sucks you in. And then you'll just believe anything he says. It's awful. It really is.
It's a cult of personality, 100%.
Yeah.
Before we say goodbye, Sunita, can you give us maybe a 60-second update on what's happening with you guys now? Because at one stage there was a legal action, and what's happening with House of Flash, etc.
Still legal action. So lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. After we served the papers to Brian and all the rest of them, they had to ask for quite a lot of extensions, because you'll notice that Brian's lawyer du jour that he uses quite a lot isn't going to be representing him in this case. And he had to get extensions because he was having trouble finding someone to represent, I believe. And several of the other defendants as well had trouble. Some are defending themselves, and some of their retorts have been a little bit like, what? So it's quite interesting. We're now at what's called the discovery stage. So what happens now is our privacy is all on the shelf. Like right now, we have to give all of our accounts, our phones, anything digital, anything in paper to the lawyers. They will go through it with a fine-tooth comb, look for anything that's going to weaken or strengthen the case. And he has to do that too. So it's going to be interesting. So
yeah, that's really so we're going to see all we're going to have access to all his financial accounts through the courts.
Possibly. So yeah, like everything, every conversation that you have is going to be really sifted through. And yeah, so I've just had to come off Tinder. Like, I'm like, oh dear, I better not do that no more. But yeah, so we're at that stage. That all has to be in. Our first court date for the High Court to present that is May, end of May, I think it is. And then from there, then we'll have more dates for hearings and things like that. So it's still going.
That hoodie that you're wearing, we love selling those and flicking you guys. We got you about $700, didn't we? It wasn't bad actually for some things. So we love doing that. We do want to. I actually was thinking about you over Christmas, going, we need an update. It's a bit sad that we've got an update thanks to another shitty story, but stay in touch for the rest of this year. We certainly want more updates as you come through and what's going on with that as well, eh?
Oh, anytime. Just give me a call.
Yeah, man. All right, Sunita.
You're
awesome.
Guys.
Thanks for coming in. And remember what you've just been sort of ordained by Dame Jools, that you have to back yourself to keep going. That's what she said.
Oh my God. That was like legendary.
Okay, we'll talk soon, eh?
Thanks, guys.
Right.
See you later.
All the best.
Cheers.
Hi, Chewy. Haven't seen you for a while.
Yes, just a couple of things. Whenever Destiny, and I want to burn this into people's brains, and sometimes, in some cases, their foreheads, whenever Destiny talks about just wanting to protect children, and it's all about the kids.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? We haven't seen it. We've seen pictures of this dude with Brian, but we haven't seen any comments from Brian about it.
Yeah.
You know, like if you truly believed that, you'd throw this guy to the wolves, wouldn't you? Not shelter him.
It would be fun. It would be fun to play a mathematical game. Brian Tamaki, how many members of your church that were in a leadership role have been convicted of sexual assault versus how many people involved with Rainbow Storytime have been convicted of sexual assault against children? We should just tot up the totals and see what we come out with. Because actually, if there's more for Destiny, maybe all the drag queens in New Zealand need to start storming Destiny to kind of protect the kids. Maybe that's what we should be doing. Maybe.
Yes. Well, I mean, not that I would suggest such a thing, because certainly trying to strong arm your way onto private property is not a good idea. But certainly standing outside said property.
No, just imagine.
Maybe on Sundays.
If Sunita's still watching, I mean, imagine a bunch of drag queens. I would happily come with them, just going along to the church service on Sunday in full costume, just sitting there, not just having a presence. I wonder what would happen. If they've got a right to be in there, if they're allowed to come in there, I'm not even saying protesting. Just go in full makeup, full regalia to sit in the congregation. Sunita, call me. We'll do it. I'll do it. We'll film it. Not going to protest. Like if you just go and sit, don't do anything about it. Just go and sit and listen. Don't make any calls. Don't do anything. Just sit there and see what happens. It would be really interesting. Really interesting.
The one thing I'm wary of there, and this is just through my own interactions with Destiny people, is they are a hair trigger away from violence, in my honest opinion.
True.
So certainly, if you're thinking of doing something like that, don't put yourself at risk.
True.
I have seen.
Don't know about that, MLB.
Hey, Sunita, to do you up. There you go. I have seen one amazing suggestion. This is a group in America, and their idea to counter this sort of hate, this performative storming of story times and that sort of thing. It's called Parasol Patrol. And I hope that this takes off here. And it's just they're people with brightly coloured umbrellas that are literally there to shield children from this sort of performance or protest or that sort of thing. It's not violent. It's not confrontational. They just literally surround these people with umbrellas. I think that is brilliant. You take away the imagery from them, and it's not confrontational. Because I mean, the comments that I have seen when there are people firing back at Destiny is they'll just cut the footage together and make it look great for them. If they're just confronted with them doing a haka in front of a whole bunch of brightly coloured umbrellas, then what are you giving them?
You've reminded me of something as well. Matthew Shepard, you know the name Matthew Shepard in the 90s was murdered in America for being gay, basically. Michael Moore did a bit. I found the video where basically he called it the Sodomobile, and he went around America pulling it up to things like these guys from wherever they're from in the Sodomobile, and inviting conservative politicians and stuff to come and have a meeting in it. So that's the head of, his surname's Phelps, head of that group, and they invited him to come into the Sodomobile to have a conversation, and for some reason he refused to do it. It's a pretty good protest.
I think he's dead now. Which
so that's him there. Yeah, he did die. That's
something to celebrate.
I interviewed his daughter. I think his name was Fred, and he wouldn't go in.
Yeah, Fred Phelps.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to say, and this is a reflection of how the media have covered this story, Stuff and the Herald ran footage that came from Destiny. They just ran whatever Destiny put up on their live stream, their edited version of what happened. Absolutely no sort of verification of this is true, how it played out, how they've put it up. No sort of critical thought about, hey, this is a video that Destiny are happy to put up. Maybe this isn't something we should be amplifying, or alternative footage, or an unedited version of that footage. They just ran with it. And when it comes to this sort of stuff, our media owes us more than that.
Yeah.
They have a responsibility, and they have failed in this regard. So Stuff and the New Zealand Herald, pull your fucking head out of the ass and realize the group that you are trying to interact with. You happily ran Brian Tamaki's comments. You had his response front and center in both of your stories.
Yeah. Let's get to some super chats before we move on. One of your favorites coming up next, Chewy. If you've heard it, I've got some more for you. Bill Burr going off on billionaires. It's really interesting. But first, XLDR has a very good idea. It's not a ram raid. It's a glam raid. Thank you for the super chat. That's a good one. The OSX Chris, how do we roll this government? Can't wait till 2026. Wooming, where's the condemnation of Destiny from churches? Yeah, I thought about contacting a few contacts and about tonight, but we had enough. Well, I'll keep my eye on that one. Destiny
I have
too
seen
far.
some comments. I have seen some comments from some of the more progressive churches. But I think it needs to be a lot more across the board than it is.
Starfish's comment was something I wondered if I was sitting in that press conference when he said they went too far. The question we should enough was what was far enough? Like, where was the line, Mr. Luxon? Would have been a great question. Rajan, Brian Tamaki would make a good drag queen. He's got the eyebrows.
With those eyebrows?
Well, he's got them for it. You know, he works on them. Who thinks Destiny will be captured / funded, exploited by Atlas Network to become NZ's MAGA brown shirts? I think it's very possible. Yeah, perhaps. James says Destiny Church are an end product of colonism. Colonization. The Danger of Mouse, Destiny are just a gang masquerading as a church. Kiwi says nobody expects the Destiny Church Inquisition, not Monty Python. Starfish again, if you believe it, Jesus loved all sorts of folk and said, truly I tell you, the tax collector and the prostitutes are entering the kingdom of heaven ahead of you, Matthew 29:31. Brian has no chance. Just so you know the context of that as well, for people who weren't brought up religious, tax collectors were like the most despised, most hated, most vile people in society. Like they were the worst of the worst as far as kind of society was. Howie again says, should we be organising the protest outside all Destiny Sunday services every week, protesting against their hatred? Another one from XLD. Respect existence or expect resistance. That's a good one, like that. Peter Symes says, here's everything Jesus said on LGBTQ+, ... and then there's nothing for you audio guys. And Mr. Arvid says, Brian Tamaki coming for David Seymour's spot as worst human being.
Alrighty. Okay, so let's talk about David Seymour and Brian Tamaki. We've all seen the footage, haven't we?
Yeah.
Of him saying what good works Brian does. I mean, that was just an opportunity to take a shot at Jacinda at the time. But man, is David Seymour not only the worst person in the world, but the worst judge of character in the world? Brian Tamaki's a good guy. This sex offender and embezzler would be an excellent president for us. I better put in that letter of recommendation for this guy that is hopped up in kilos of meth and beating up his wife. Come on.
Thank you, team. All of you guys who have become patrons of recent times, patreon.com/Big Hairy News. If you want to be a part of what we do, it's genuinely the way that we kind of keep the lights on. Super Chats are fantastic. Merch is brilliant, but this is the way we know what we can afford to do in 2 months from now. So if you're not a part of us now and you'd like to be a part of us, you're enjoying the work that we're doing, patreon.com/Big Hairy News. And can I say this week, a huge thanks to Bex Wilson, to Gabrielle Butler, to Cal Lehman, to Rose Appleby, and to Tedious Human. Tedious Human are all becoming patrons of the previous 7 days. Okay. Let's talk about Bill Burr. Bill Burr is a real interesting cat. He's a very cool podcast that I used to listen to a lot. The best episode is when he's talking to his wife. They're real funny because his wife takes no shit from him. But there is some footage from him, or some audio footage from him, going around the internet at the moment based on some comments he made about billionaires last week on one of his podcasts. It's called the Monday Morning Podcast, but it's become so popular he does one on Thursday, and he calls it now the Thursday before the Monday Morning Podcast to those episodes. I want to play this audio for you, and I want to set it up by saying he's reading a letter. He does like letters or emails or whatever he gets, and he's reading a letter from a woman who is working hard but is not quite getting along financially, right? She's struggling to get along financially. They're actually talking about women's sports here, and she's about to say something like, you know, I would like to support women's sport more, but I can't afford it. So I guess she's saying, like, I can't afford this, whatever the American version of the Sky Sport platform is or something. And then Bill Burr comes in with some interesting comments about billionaires, and if you have heard this elsewhere, you may have heard it with bleeps on it, because for some reason all Americans don't want to hear the word fuck, but we don't do that here, so it'll sound, this is authentic Bill Burr.
To answer a follow-up on why I don't follow any professional women's sports now,
the woman.
I'm broke, and being a busy mother to 2 children and working full-time in this economy, I was very excited and made a point to play a lot of Olympic coverage for my kids. I even bought a globe to help visualize where people are from, where they're from. Dude, this is the amount of people that are struggling out there because of these fucking billionaires. And they got us all arguing liberal and conservative. We got to stop doing that. Like, I am so tired of hearing about people going to bed worried about what's going to happen next week. There is so much fucking money in this country, and there's so much work being done, you know, and if you work a full fucking week at a job, you should be able to pay your fucking rent.
Preach.
You shouldn't have to go out and get another fucking job and still be struggling.
Preach.
It's bad for the country, because then the kids don't see their parents, and they're not getting the upbringing that they need. It's so fucking...
That's always an interesting point, because these conservatives are always talking about family values and the family unit and that, and supporting economic positions that break apart that family unit, that make it so that a parent has to work 2 jobs, or 2 parents have to work 2 jobs, and actually don't contribute to the nuclear family or something similar, the family unit that they profess is so important. For them, money comes first, economics comes first, and even though they preach about family, it always loses out to economics. Yeah, this has got about a minute to go.
Fucking these fucking billionaires, they need to be put down.
Oh.
You know, like fucking rabid dogs. They're like rabid with fucking greed and just going out and just dividing everybody. You know, just the fucking epitome of this time right now. Like how divisive we are, that like, you know, the Gulf of Mexico is now called the Gulf of America, and people get excited. Like, how the fuck does that help your wallet?
Yep.
It's an empty gesture, and then it's also like a racist gesture. Like that's the white guy that's him saying fuck Mexicans without saying it. You know, like who has a fucking problem with Mexicans? Like what is the real problem? This is just such an ugly fucking time. Yeah, that just sucks. That sucks. People fucking broke.
Couldn't be much clearer. Now, the one thing I want to know about is he's real tight with Joe Rogan. They're real good mates. And Joe Rogan's gone on this path of best mates with Elon Musk, best mate, bringing on, you know, kind of conservative billionaires every other week. I understand I'm not listening to his show at the moment, but and so I've been Googling the last few days, Joe Rogan response to Bill Burr, and it hasn't come up yet. So I'm fascinated to see what happens here. But Chewy, Comrade Burr wanted to share some truth with us.
Yes, what Comrade Burr is talking about there is no war but class war. And he is absolutely right. Like Bill Burr, I don't always agree with him, but he fucking calls it as he sees it. And with this stuff, he's dead right. He's going on all the late shows and going, Luigi did nothing wrong. And maybe these guys should be more afraid of people capping them in the back of the head. It's some real edgy stuff. And it's not like you get Bill Burr on your show and not expect him to say exactly what he wants to say.
So you're saying we should get him on the show? He should come on. If you're watching Bill, you should come on. Is that what you're saying?
I would lose my mind. I would just explode. But yeah, like he's correctly identified what the problem is. The problem is inequality. The problem is people don't have a place to live. The problem is that a full-time job is not enough to support a life. Like you can't pay rent. Like if you look at the American stats on how much rent has gone up in comparison with how much wages have gone up, there is no wonder that they have a crisis of homelessness. It is no wonder that people that are working in Amazon fulfillment centers or Walmarts and that sort of thing are sleeping in their cars in the car park, and they're full-time workers. It's mental, and no one over there is going to do anything to upset that apple cart. And it just becomes a time where there is a tipping point where the people are going to kick over the apple cart. And historically, that hasn't gone great for a certain group of people.
Yeah. Lay says basically what you're saying, and I think what he was saying, eat the rich. That's the vibe.
Look, if we don't do the choppy, then they won't do the stoppy. Like, that's all I'm saying. It shouldn't be controversial. Can you order a guillotine through Amazon?
It'll probably come
IKEA
late,
that you need to get it from?
I ordered some from Amazon the other day, and I still haven't got it. Sheesh. So over a week later, I think I've been duped. Anyway, I'll be talking to Jeff Bezos when we get him on. It's just so, look, the thing about Bill Burr is, and I saw someone saying it in the chat as well, when he does talk to some of these other more controversial politicians, he just goes, stop being a fucking idiot. Like this is what he's always about. And if you want to know Bill Burr's kind of true fuck around and find out, then Google Bill Burr Philadelphia 12 minutes, where he does. I listened to it again a couple of days ago. So it's Google.
So good.
Yeah, Google Philadelphia Bill Burr 12 minutes, where basically there's been it's a massive night of comedy, 5 or 6 acts before him, and he's come on and the audience have been complete assholes to the acts before him, and he goes out and he just says every bad thing about Philadelphia that he can, and he goes 11 minutes and he counts it down and he counts it down. One of us is like, I hope you go home and you find out your mother's got cancer right in the middle of her asshole, and you lick that cancer and you get it on your, like, and he's just, this is what he does to the crowd for 12, and they're all booing, and then by the end of it, it's really funny. It's really funny. But he's obviously properly pissed as well. And that's sort of his, I don't give a fucking care about anything. I'll say what I want, when it's appropriate. And that's another version of it. So there's homework, Fano. Philadelphia, 12 minutes, Bill Burr.
It it is phenomenal. I think a little bit of extra context on that is I think it was happening, like it was a free event at the same time that there was a big football match or a hockey match in Philadelphia or something, big sporting event anyway. So they had a whole lot of pissed up people that were just there to cause havoc. And he went out there and turned that place into basically a suicide pact.
Yeah,
He was
he
like,
said,
I'm going out and taking you all with me.
he says something like he hates how much he hates Philadelphia. This is to Philadelphians. How much he hates Philadelphia, that they've got a 3'6" Italian boxer as their hero in the same place where Joe Fraser's from, but you couldn't have Joe Fraser because he's black. You know, it's just ruthless all the way through. Ruthless.
Got a lot of time for Bill Burr.
Yeah. Hey, let's move into Q&A from the weekend, because we are we're I guess not running over. We don't really have a timetable, but we are going a little bit. So let's get going to it. Q&A in the weekend. Can I just say I miss Jack Tame already? One interview and I'm missing Jack Tame. Guy in Esplanade. Guy in Esplanade. He's away on paternity leave, his old Jackie boy. Because there's a few minutes that I know that I was watching this where if it had been Jack Tame, he would have said, it's a beautiful question. What is your evidence for? That question didn't get asked at all. That's a Jack Tame staple. But it was still quite an interesting a bit of information. And I don't know if it was with you, Chewy, but I said either last week or a few weeks ago that I think Erica Stanford's the next leader of the National Party. Did I say that with you or someone else?
I know you have a mad crush on her.
I'll go on.
So that might be
just because she slid into my DMs once. She just slid into my DMs just once.
You're a married man now.
We were talking last week, I think, and we were talking about the front bench, and I said something like, most of us rated Nikki Noboats prior to the last election as being more competent than Luxon. But to be honest, since then, my opinion on her political analysis has gone down, 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 down. And we were talking about it, and I was looking at their front bench, and I went, Erica Stanford's the next leader. I just think Erica Stanford's the next leader. And this interview has done nothing but confirm that for me. Part of it's going to be, wasn't Jack Tame to quite nail her down as much, but she does pretty well with most of her answers, even when they're bullshit. And I'm just saying, you heard it here first. I think she's the next leader of the National Party. All right? Just remember this moment. No one else has said it. I said it here first. So let's have a look at this. It's a really interesting conversation because they're talking about home ownership and the Official Information Act. And basically what I hear Erica Stanford saying is New Zealand citizenship, or if not citizenship, permanent residency is up for sale if you have enough capital. They're looking for money. And why are they looking for money? Might have something to do with tax breaks and landlords, but they're looking for money. So they're basically hocking out there the ability to live in New Zealand if you bring enough capital. And yes, this has been done before, but if you listen to some of the buzzwords she uses, it seems a little bit more, desperate might be the wrong word, but a little bit more, let's really make this work. We could have some funds coming in this way. Erica Stanford talking to Guy in Esplanade about New Zealand citizenship up for sale for the rich. They're my words, not theirs.
We know that migrants and investors to this country have different tolerance for risk. And to be honest with you, many of them just want to make sure they secure their visa.
Okay, that's one of the lines that flicked my wig, right? They just want to secure their visa. She's talking about capital, she's talking about investment, and she's saying many of them just want to secure their visa. So what she's saying is many of them are just going to do whatever they need to do financially to secure their visa, aka that visa is for sale. Right, I've got plenty of this to play, but I heard that sentence and I went, that's far more telling than Guy in Esplanade gave it credit for.
And to be honest with you, many of them just want to make sure they secure their visa. And they will say, look, actually, I'm quite happy to put my money in bonds, but what we do know is from research and anecdotal evidence, and it's not always been the best, which is why we've made sure we've built into this new policy data collection. What we do know, though, is while they are securing their visa, they're off investing in Kiwi startups and Kiwi businesses and higher risk. Their risk profile shifts over time, and what I don't want to do is close the door, which we have been doing, and say, look, I'm sorry. Actually, we're going to ignore the fact that even though you might come in and invest in bonds, that you actually do a number of other things.
OK, you've said in your press release that you want these people not just for their capital and skills, but to, quote, build a life for themselves and their family here.
So this is about Overseas Investment Office, right? This is about home ownership. At the moment, if you're not a New Zealand citizen, you need to get basically permission from a government office to buy a house, to buy property here. If you're bringing all these multi-million billionaires over here, they're going to want to buy a house. True. How is that going to work? And National feels pretty weak with these answers on protecting land for New Zealanders.
Doesn't that mean home ownership?
I actually believe that it does. And look, those conversations are ongoing. There are a couple of things. There's sort of the trifecta, if you think.
Hang on, let's just back up, because that's significant.
Yes.
You do believe that
Yes.
home ownership is part of this deal, or should be?
Look, I think that the clear message we've had from these incredible people with amazing skill and resource is that, yeah, they want to be able to have a base here. They want to invite their friends here and show off their home and raise their children here. And
their yacht and their view
and their bunker
of Lake Wanaka
outside
and their
of-
bunker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their super yacht at Auckland Harbour.
yes, that is a barrier, and that's why those conversations are being had at the moment.
So you want to rescind or relax the foreign buyers ban?
In this small part that I'm playing my part in,
Yes, I do.
which is these migrant investors, because it's all very well to say, please come here and bring your tens of millions of dollars and invest in our companies and bring all your benefit to New Zealand, but you can't buy a house. You can't bring up your family here in a home that you own. You know, and
that's the coalition deal that you signed up to, though, isn't it?
Well, look, as I say, those...
Yeah, because Winston said no. So they're a bit stuffed with this.
Those conversations are being had, and I think people...
Have they been held at a cabinet level yet?
I can't say what happens at cabinet. You know that very
I didn't
well,
ask
but
you,
nice try.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you whether you'd brought
there
it to
are
cabinet.
conversations that are being had at different levels, and no decisions have been made yet. But
Has that
my
been
personal
taken to
view-
cabinet yet?
I can't tell you what has and hasn't been taken to cabinet, but
Your-
what I
your
can tell
personal
you
view?
is my personal view is that if you're going to ask these people to come here and invest significant amounts of money in Kiwi businesses, they should have the ability to buy a house. That's my personal view. And look, as I say, conversations are being had. I've just spent a lot of time with investors recently, and it's not just also about houses. It's about the visa settings, and it's about some of the tax rules as well.
And we'll talk about some of that stuff. But just to be clear, I mean, you campaigned on a 15% foreign buyers tax on houses over $2 million, and it was going to get $740 million revenue sort of across the board. Are you looking at resurrecting that policy, or are you talking about specifically limiting it to these wealthy migrants under these categories?
In my lane that I'm working in this particular visa, I'm just looking at these people. When we say to them, please bring in 10, 15, or 10, 5, 10, 15, 50 million, depending on what they decide to invest outside of their initial investment. I think it's a reasonable proposition that we say to you, actually, you can buy a house here. That's my personal view. Those are conversations that are being had, but it's only in that very narrow lane at this point in time, because that's the policy I'm working on.
And are you confident about getting that past Winston Peters?
No.
Oh, look, these are discussions that are being had well above my pay grade. And I've been involved in them as well, but look, I'm hopeful, because if we want to make sure that we are encouraging these people to come to New Zealand with their skill and their capital, we have to have a good proposition. But and honestly, in saying that, it's not the biggest barrier. It's a barrier, but it's not the biggest barrier.
Okay.
And all these people are wanting to come and invest regardless of the house price.
Well, that's good, because if they wanted to come regardless, Chewy, they don't need to buy a house. That's just answer. That's simple, eh? So, yeah, this will be struggle to get past Winston Peters. It's fascinating. Though. It does really. I know this might seem obvious to all of you, but it does really feel like National is still scrambling for money, and now they're putting permanent residency on the table for enough capital. If you watch that whole interview, the number of times she says the word capital, but I guess she's there for that. But it does feel a little bit more than just investment is good. It's like, we need investment. That's the vibe of it, Joey.
This is how we devolve into a banana republic. We're basically selling citizenships. Like, we did that for Peter Thiel. And he's working very, very hard to absolutely crush the country that he's in some libertarian wet dream. And if it goes wrong, if it descends into a race war like he wants it to, he's got a little bolt hole here. I think it is an absolute fiction that these golden visas ever accomplish what people like Erica Stanford are going to say that they do. That certainly wasn't Australia's experience.
Yeah, we're about to go into that.
So, yeah, they tried it and shit canned it because it does not deliver
Yeah.
what they want and what National is saying that it's going to. They love bringing up Australia,
Yep.
saying they do things better than us, and they've completely missed this one.
Yeah.
I think
Well, maybe
if you're going to say bring money and invest it, and you're going to invest it in something that our country is set up to do, you are going to invest it in housing, and you're not going to solve that productivity issue that you have identified but will not solve.
So that exact point that you're saying, they talk about how people just basically bought retirement in Australia. So it didn't do what the government said it was going to do. What this government tends to do, and they've said it over other examples internationally, is like they go, oh no, this is very different. And it might be different. I mean, there's nothing that's always going to be letter to letter identical, but very different. You know, it's the same idea. And as you say, Cherry, we'll play. It's only 90 seconds, I think. This is the experience in Australia.
And Rowan Simpson, a tech investor, he's just got a new book out. He was one of the big players in Trade Me and Xero. He said something similar in his book. He's critical of these kinds of visas. And the common theme there is that some of these people have done their hustling and done their sort of invigorating work early, and they're looking for sort of more of a retirement option. Shouldn't we be looking at people with the hustle rather than promoting?
It's so true, though. I mean, like if you look at a visa, a visitor visa, a working visa, like to get into the UK, like below 30, it's heavily weighted for people who can actually add to the economy. Above 50, it's a real negative, and I guess unless you're bringing in, when we're in Auckland on the honeymoon, what's his name? Murdoch, not Murdoch, the other one who did Packer. Kerry Packer's boat was in at the viaduct, 108 metres long. It's now his son's, James Packer's boat, 108 metres long. When they bought it about 15 years ago, $222 million US. So he's okay to retire. He's not going to be a drain on the health system. But when you get those people who have got enough to get in, but not enough to live comfortably for the rest of their lives, then retired people cost the country more. And this is what Australia saw.
New Zealand is some sort of retirement option.
Well, firstly, we need to do a bit of both, but not the retirement option. I don't agree with that at all. But you want people at the beginning of their career, and also you want people who've had an amazing career and gone out there and built all of those connections and have all of that skill and knowledge and passion. I've just recently been on a trip through New Zealand with wealthy, mostly American investors who've come here. The skill that they bring and the passion they have for this country is absolutely incredible. We need that here, because if New Zealanders want their children to work in businesses that are growing, that are cutting edge, that are being taken to the world, we have to make sure they have access to capital. Okay. And these are the people to help us do that.
Are there age limits on these visas?
There aren't age limits on these visas.
No age limits? So you could be 80 or 90?
Well, if you're worried about that, we also have a parent retirement category visa as well. And so, you know, there's many options, there's many options in New Zealand, right from bringing your skill as a worker, coming in as a 20-year-old, right through.
But just to be clear, no age limits on this?
There are no age limits on this, but also we're making sure that they must bring in the capital that we need.
Yeah, sure.
It must be invested for a certain period of time, and that they have the skill that we need.
Yeah.
So again, capital. Yeah, thoughts, Chewie?
Aspirational. That if you want your children to go up and prosper and work for a foreign tech billionaire, that's what New Zealanders want. You want to work for a wealthy person. You don't want to be a wealthy person. How fucking insulting is that? Like, you're talking, like, she's very clearly talking about Americans here. If you are attracting those people, and you are talking about people that have become skilled at avoiding their tax obligations, of participating in a society that throws people away. Are they the people that we want to bring in? Or do we want to bring people in that don't want to change New Zealand in that way?
Yeah.
Are we wanting people to come here because, hey, I love the mountains and the lakes, and I don't think I pay enough tax? Is that the people that we're attracting? No. Yeah. Why don't we empower our own wealthy people that are here now to stop investing in houses, to stop putting their money in the safe piggy bank and start fucking risking some of it on the good ideas that are in this country now, the people that can't get the funding to do their idea or to market their product or to even develop their product, because the housing market is safer for your money. It's retarded.
I wonder if there is a way. I wonder if there's a way, because like wealthy in New Zealand, it's been shown that the 300 richest families don't pay their fair amount of tax proportionally. I wonder if there's a way of giving them like a category of investment that they could then drive what should be getting paid as tax into a particular kind of investment that can't be houses. Like there's a category, a list of them, and actually encouraging them, not through a tax break, but maybe that they don't have to pay tax on, to drive money into investing in these areas that you're talking about, Chewy, that aren't just going to be a literal land bank with bricks on top of it.
Well, here's the thing with that, Pat. These people will spend all of the money to make sure that none of the money goes to taxes. So don't give them a loophole. Just don't give them the loophole. It is you need to have a thing that doesn't have loopholes.
Yeah.
You just need to go, you have enough money now. We're going to take the extra money that you have and we're going to build 15 schools and a hospital.
Yeah, I mean,
you think you could use that money better? Well, I guess you should have before you ended up with a huge money pile.
And
because
just remember,
knocking on your door if you were the guy building hospitals.
93,000 new people living in New Zealand over the past few years. Every single year that they came in, there should have been a new hospital. So that's how far we're falling. I know the migration's not so crash hot over the last few years, last couple. Might talk about that tomorrow night, but 93,000 people, of which about 60,000 are internationals, of which maybe 15,000 are school-age kids. 15,000 extra school-age kids into our schools over the last 3, 4, 5 years a year. No new real schools being built. This is the forward projection. I thought about it today. Actually, a tiny tangent here before we go back and play the last bit of the interview. I was listening to actually Mehdi Hassan talk about why the right are so good at winning elections. And it's that they've got a narrative and a direction. It might be shit narrative and a shit direction, but it's clear. Make America great again. You know, getting New Zealand back on track. The left needs to have a narrative in this country that even if it's a bit chintzy and it's a bit whatever, but then when you ask what are they about, they can answer. And I thought about it as I was walking the dog today, and I was just like, rebuilding from the bottom up. You know, it's like actually starting at the bottom. What are you going to do to me, Chewy? What's happening with that thing? It's a very strange look, by the way. Someone's going to clip this, and it's not going to be good for you.
If there's no choppy, they won't stoppy.
I thought rebuild from the bottom up, or starting, like a way that they can get a narrative that goes, we're actually going to focus on the most vulnerable. We're going to actually focus on the bottom, and it's going to be trickle up economics. If the people at the bottom are getting the help, they spend it in the economy. You know, if the people at the top get the money, then it goes into their savings account or portfolios. Don't know, just a thought, little side note there. The left needs to figure out a narrative that the next election can be put on a bumper sticker, and that people then go, what do they stand for? And they'll be like, oh, building from the bottom up, or whatever it is.
Do you know what historically has been a really productive group of immigrants into New Zealand?
Who?
Refugees. Every wave of refugees that we have taken, I'm talking post-World War II, I am talking Vietnam, I am talking the Middle East now. Those people tend to build small businesses.
Yeah.
They also tend to make our food selection much, much better. For those of you at my age, you remember the range of takeaways that you could get in the 80s was a bit grim. But yeah, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we helping more people at the bottom rather than these guys that don't need help just because they have already amassed a huge portion of wealth and not shared it with anybody? Yeah. Like, I don't see why we should be trying to attract these people. They will conceal their wealth. They will do every trick in the book that they already know to run rings around our government. And they just have a little bolt hole in the South Pacific, a little batch, a little $5.5 million hollowed out mountain somewhere in central Otago. Why are we talking to these people? If we're giving them golden visas, there should be a rule that somebody in a government department can publish the security codes to their front door when it all goes south.
Like, something. I mean, I know we're being a bit silly here, but again, it's a little tangent again. Oh, there's a saying for the narrative for the left: "Fuck the rich, yay the poor." is that someone was talking, I can't remember the context, sorry, I apologise, talking about seeing Jason Moore maybe in Queenstown or something in the streets, and literally no one paid attention to him. Just jumped off his bike, walking around the streets, a few kind of East Coast hellos, hey, sort of thing. Everyone left him alone. So I can see how this could be attractive for someone from that world. But, you know, we have things for a reason. I was going to show you one for the rich listers, only because I saw it the other day out of interest. You got 60 million, Chewy? You got 60 million?
Don't.
You got 60 million. You can
don't.
actually own an island in the Hodaki Gulf up by Auckland. No, you don't have 60 million.
For some people, that's like this is what Erica Stanford's talking about. Someone with $60 million come and buy an island. Yeah, we'll give you a helicopter permit. Yeah, sure. Like it's just so desperate. Like, they fucked up their numbers. They don't know how to solve it. And their idea is a garage sale of visas.
Yeah.
Come on.
So let's get to the last couple of parts of this story. She is also the education minister. And in this part of the conversation, they are asking about teachers and professional development. Because remember, there was a Mr. D. Esmore, D. Samore, who said last year, that there would be no teacher-only days during term time. That was from David Seymour. That wasn't from Erica Stanford. And this is what I'm saying. You watch this clip, and this is part of the thing that makes me think she will be the next leader. She's confident, she's clear, tells David Seymour to pull his head in.
But okay, you talked about professional development. I think there's a $20 million fund, isn't there?
For mathematics?
For mathematics,
for 1 year.
Yeah. Okay. And when do they do that? Because, you know, last year you said no teacher-only days during term time.
I didn't say that. There are teacher-only days during term time. In fact, I've given for this year 2 that I've said to schools that I am allowing you to have, and then another 2 that the boards can choose
you didn't say
to roll that out.
But your associate minister did.
Well, I think he knew at the time he was overstepping the mark somewhat, because it's my decision. I'm the Minister of Education, and when we are rolling out a new curriculum, we have to have curriculum days. And I am not in a position, because of the way that the system works with the unions, to say you must do it in holidays.
This is interesting. So you're saying to David Seymour this morning, sorry, mate.
We've already had these conversations and he knows. I am the minister, I set the days, and I've already done that.
So did he run that past you before he came out and said there won't be any teacher-only days in term time?
Look, I don't think at the time he did, but we had a conversation afterwards and that's been sorted.
The one part that's missing is, why didn't he retract? Like, why? If that's the case, why didn't he retract? And he didn't. And if Guyon hadn't asked that question today, we would never have known about that. This has just got 35 seconds.
So he's wrong, and there are teacher-only days in term time.
There are teacher-only days in term time, and it's not because, you know, look, would I love to have them at other times? Of course. But the settings are such that we have to have them during term time. We're trying to keep them to an absolute minimum. But my message to parents is that during those times, those teachers are looking at the new curriculum, they're unpacking it.
Yeah, this is patronising. What is she implying, that last time they just had like cocktails and played mini golf or something? It's what professional development's always been about.
The year-by-year knowledge-rich curriculum that's now internationally benchmarked, because we have a world-leading education system in Train, that they will be unpacking it on those days. It was really important to us to make sure teachers have the time to unpack the curriculum.
Okay.
There you go. So that was, I mean, you know, that was strong. David Seymour got told to put his head in. The pity that didn't happen publicly. Yeah, she's good at messaging. Sounds reasonable, good at messaging.
If you take that in isolation, of course, any questions that have been directed at her about lunches, which also come under
coming next.
Education.
I love it how you set up our next clip every time, Jerry.
Fucking how does this happen? Yeah, she farms it off. It's not her responsibility. You're the minister.
Exactly what happens.
The buck stops with you. All of it. And this is something that this whole government is bad at. They're passing buck like it's a football.
Yeah. Oh, well, should we just keep going for the last clip? Because that's exactly what you find out. Because the irony is, you know, exactly right. You are the minister. In fact, the handbook says you're ultimately responsible. And she just won't. She won't take responsibility for school lunches.
Look parents in the eye and say, we are giving your children lunch.
Well, of course we can. because that's exactly what's happening at the moment.
Are
School
you-
lunches are being rolled out.
It
And that
makes
is, as you know,
But they're not being rolled out on time, and often the food doesn't get there. We just saw on Friday it was Pie Day.
Friday Pie Day, I did see that.
Yeah, which would be a laugh if it wasn't for the fact
it's one
that
day. It's one day. And
No. Sorry, Minister. We said this very clearly last week. You don't get to bury the lead. It's not about the pie. No one cares about a pie. No one cares about one day with a pie. We're not going to make this. The right are so keen to make, oh, look at them all freaking out about a pie. It's not about the pie. It's about the necessity to have an easy meal to try and catch up with the promises that you've made that you could not fulfill. This is a delivery conversation, not a kind of food conversation. You made these promises with Compass. Compass didn't have the processes and practices to be able to fulfill the promises that you guys made, and they've had to have a pie day to try and get ahead of themselves. It's not about the pie. Don't bury the lead. It's about the processes and practices that you promised that you then didn't fulfill. You got anything, True, before I hit play?
It's a little bit about the pie.
No, I don't think it's
Mrs.
about the
Max
pie.
is a dreadful pie. The dreadful Australian-owned pie.
Here we go.
no one's laughing at Pie Day. Well, I think the children enjoyed it. Look,
sure, but how much of a distraction is this for you?
Oh, look, for me, it's not a distraction at all. I am focused on, as I've said, the curriculum, the resources, professional learning and development, making sure that kids have access to twice-yearly assessments.
But 33% of schools,
focused there.
33% of schools using this program have contacted Ministry of Education with complaints and queries. So 141 out of 466 schools. Is that acceptable?
Look, I think David Seymour, if he were here, would say, of course, there is.
There you go, Chewy. There you go, Chewy.
6 schools. Is that acceptable?
Look, I think David Seymour, if he were here, would say, of course, there is going to be teething problems when we move. I know that he
But it's
said
your
recently,
responsibility ultimately, isn't it?
It's actually his responsibility. But what
under
he
the
has
Cabinet
said,
Manual, responsibility for the portfolio always rests with the Principal Minister. As you said before, with the teacher-only days, that's you.
That was me. He was stepping outside of his responsibilities.
So lunches is you as well.
When it comes to school lunches, they are his responsibility. But what I would say is in the last,
That's like a CEO saying, well, it's the manager's fault. It's got nothing to do with me. You don't get to do that. The buck stopper is always the one at the top. And for that, it's the primary minister of the department.
I love this idea that David Seymour, an experienced politician, just, he's fresh in the job and he doesn't know where the boundaries of his role are.
Yeah.
That's hysterical. And then when it comes to Compass, wasn't the whole idea that they went to this foreign overseas company was because of their experience? You would hope that experience would mean relatively few teething problems. And all we've seen is teething problems.
Yeah.
We've seen it cost, I saw an estimate of 2,000 local jobs that were providing food to children. On time, healthy, not Mrs. Max pies.
All right, last bit.
Responsibility. But what I would say is in the last, week or so, we've managed to, he's been saying publicly, we've managed to get up to, over 95% of on-time deliveries. So things are improving. Yeah. Of course, for those children who are not getting a meal on time, it's not good enough, which is...
There you go. I was going to say one more thing because we did this the other day. 95%, they were listing about 500 schools, so let's do this. So 0.05 times 500 is, of course, 25 schools it's falling short on. Average number of school students is 275, so that means on any one day, nearly 7,000 students. 7,000 students have been screwed.
7,000 kids.
7,000. Yeah, that's 5%.
That are expecting a lunch. And they've already targeted this right at the most in need. So 7,000 of the most at need kids who are, maybe that lunch could be their only meal. You just don't know their situation. Doesn't turn up. Turns up at 2:30. It's cold, inedible. Like, these guys are way too fucking blasé about this. Like, if David Seymour was out there railing against this company not hitting their targets, that they were taking the contract off them, were giving it to someone else, they have failed. But he's not doing that. He was trying to talk about this Pie Day as a celebration of 1 million kids' meals delivered. bullshit. It was on Reddit 3 days beforehand that they were ordering that because they did not have the meals that were promised, and they were scrambling around of how to do it. Like
Look,
they
just think about if it was the government, if National was in opposition and it was the government, and these are my numbers, but based on the logical numbers she just said, and if it was the government not delivering 7,000 school lunches a day, what do you think this current government would have said of Labor when they were in opposition if they were fucking up 7,000 school lunches a day? Do you think they'd be, oh yeah, it's close enough, it's pretty good, so 95%, no problem? Or would they have been hauling them over the rails? Of course we know what they would have done.
like, and that's without even mentioning this whole thing. Did you see the halal thing?
Yeah.
About it? Oh, it's halal friendly, not certified, because that would cost this giant international company too much money to get halal certified. I'm sorry, if it's a religious thing, it being friendly isn't good enough. Like, and my first thought when I saw that, when they were talking about it being halal friendly, what if we changed the wording a little bit? What if it was kosher?
Exactly what I said last week, Joey.
Would we be having the same problems with that? Like, it's just remarkable. Okay, sure, maybe David Seymour has saved the taxpayer a bunch of money because these meals are $3. Are the kids getting $3 worth of food? Debatable. Like, why don't they just give them $5 and send them to the dairy and hope they don't come back with cigarettes? It's so deeply dumb, so deeply disrespectful. And every time these guys get asked by what's left of our media, they are so dismissive about it. Like, it makes me so angry that these guys are fucking around with feeding kids at school.
And
like, I'm a taxpayer. I don't care how much money goes to feeding kids at school.
I want to do
just
this
don't.
again. One of the things we do in this show, and I know some of you might be a bit sick of me saying this, is we will judge them by the standards they set for the others and the standard they set for themselves. School lunches is easy. This picture here is the standard they set for themselves. This is their
And they turned the
launch day.
contrast up on that picture. That looks
Why? 'Cause
oversaturated.
This is the standard they set for themselves.
Not brown enough.
This is the standard they set for themselves, right? This is their standard. This is what they're delivering.
Fucking even the
This is what
press
they're delivering.
photos were depressing enough. Like, we talked about how depressing, like 2 scoops of rice, 1 scoop of brown stuff. We talked about how depressing those meals looked, and little did we know how much more depressing it could get.
The thing about it is, that's not even the worst of it. I mean, if you actually have a look at the imagery around the school lunches, this is actually what they promised. This is what they promised, right? Okay. Fresh bread.
You're going to choke it down again.
Look,
yeah.
Fresh bread.
Yeah.
Fruit, like muesli slices. There's those things like that's like fudge and stuff. Fruit, yogurt. That's their standard. No one's putting that in their. Oh well, I was going to say putting it in their mouth. Quite literally, no one's. That's their standard. That's what they're fucking delivering.
There are so many ways that this could be solved. Like, here we have a problem where we look at the supermarkets and go, hey, look, you guys have a duopoly. You have a massive advantage. You are generating super profits literally every week. Why are you guys not delivering food and yogurt and all of these sort of things to your local schools?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be great for them from a branding and a community-minded point of view and really distract by how much they're fleecing us. They're in every major centre. Like, why is that not a thing? Why is the government not showing them a big bat and going, if you don't do this, we're going to break you up. We're going to let Aldi in. We're going to fucking make a new supermarket called Kiwi Supermarket. You know, we're not using it. We have just gone cap in hand to a company that has been caught bribing officials, that has been caught saying that the meat is not horse meat. Honest, why would we put horse meat in it? Oh God, you've tested it and it's definitely horse meat. We've given feeding our kids, the next generations, to an overseas company that feeds prisoners because it hit that $3 mark.
What are we looking at? Like, what are we looking at? Look, I know I've done it. Look, it looks delicious. There's slice there. There's apples. There's yogurt. There's buttered chicken. You know, up here I even saw, look, there's spiral pasta.
But just remember, some of this might be halal adjacent,
and that's what they're delivering. I just want to say it one more time, right? This is their standard. We're not criticizing them on some ethereal thing that we think is best. This is what they said, and that is what they're delivering. This is them not doing what they said they would do. There's no whinging from lefty whinging. Oh, what do you expect? Fucking woke sushi. No. At the very least, we expect you to abide by the standards you said you would, and you showed us. That's what we want.
We want food that's nutritional. We want food that the kids will eat. And we don't want the wastage. Look, they campaigned on wastage. How much of this bullshit gets thrown out straight away?
Yeah.
You know, I saw Chloe Schwarbrick's bit in the house from last week where she said, hey, you guys going to eat this? And Luxon thought he was the world's best comedian by going, I'm more worried about the kids that you nicked those from. Apparently taking a swipe and saying that Chloe Schwarbrick steals food from children is not a problem. Like calling a politician a liar apparently is.
And also remember,
it's just dreadful.
But their policies are literally taking food out of children's mouths by not turning up on time while they're making some stupid joke about Chloe Schwarbrick taking the food out of children's mouths. Anywho, hey Chewy, nice to see you. We didn't get a chance to catch up because we just ripped into it. Maybe tomorrow we'll have a catch up. You going well? How was last week?
I'm doing all right. I went to see Hot Water Music and play in Wellington. And they played in Valhalla, which is a very small punk venue, and it was great. This is a band that I've been following for decades. I think I put up on Blue Sky that there's something very cathartic being a small, dark venue with very sticky floors, screaming the lyrics back that you've known for decades at the man that wrote them. So yeah, it was a fantastic trip away. Doing it all again next week to see the Flatliners as well. Cool. So 2 trips to Wellington. I don't miss a fancy traveling man.
Frosty says Guy Nesper is a fantastic journalist, especially regarding food, health and booze, but this format isn't for him, to be honest.
Yeah, correct.
The Falconeer says, so a Kiwi goes to an auction and buy a $500,000 house, and an overseas millionaire gets it by paying $750,000, pushing up all house prices. Mr. Arvid, Erica Stanford, the opera of visas. Another one there from Frosty. Thanks for your super chat. Shane DePoe made a brilliant New Zealand column a while back for Labour calling taxing wealth to fix health.
That'd do it. That's a good one.
And Nick just said, Nanik, we'll go with, I joined your Patreon and subbed. Great content, BAG. And thank you for becoming a part of what we do. All right, I think we're done. We've gone a good long one tonight because it's the first time. If we had been working in radio, Chewy, we would have played The Boys Are Back in Town as we started the show. But if we do that,
demonetized.
We'll get demonetized.
Can't do it.
So we're done. We're wrapping up. There's a bunch of stuff in the news today, including numbers around people fleeing this country being the worst they've ever been and stuff. I'm sure we'll touch on some of that stuff tomorrow night. But yeah, it's been real and it's been a good one back, Chewy. Nice to be back with you, buddy.
And you too.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things
right, guys, that's it for us. We're done. Thank you to all our sponsors or patrons who you can see scrolling on the screen as we speak. You're all beautiful people. Everyone's a beautiful person. If you're a patron of our podcast, you're just like about 4% more beautiful. I think we've done the research on that. And we'll catch you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. That's it for me. Hooroo.
And that's it from me. Cheers, fam.
We need to come up with some kind of chintzy answer, eh? That's a good night from me and a good night from him. That was the two Ronnies, wasn't it? Something like that. Anyway. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Catch you
Go
tomorrow
away
night
now.
Hooroo.